أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome you to our class in Arabic morphology, which is extremely important for those who seek a better understanding of the Arabic language. The sources that we have in our religion are in Arabic, the Holy Quran, the Ahadith of the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them. The Arabic language is a very rich language. When it comes to analyzing Arabic and the words and the sentence structure, we have two sciences. The first is called Ilmun Nahu, Arabic grammar. Basically, in grammar, which we taught last year, we examine an entire sentence. How are words related to each other in a sentence? So for instance, where is the verb? Where is the subject? Where is the preposition? Where is the adjective? Where is the adverb? What kind of case-ending harakat do we have? That is something we study in Arabic grammar. There is another science in Arabic that is dedicated to studying words themselves, because Arabic is very rich in word forms. If you'd like to know the depth of a word, you have to examine what kind of form does it come in. What is the root word for this word? Is this word a word that has other derivatives, other mushtaqat derivatives, or no? We'll examine what that means. That's extremely important in understanding the Arabic language and the richness that is contained in a lot of these words. Sometimes you change one small aspect of a word, it gives you a different meaning. It gives you a greater meaning, a more profound meaning. And to really appreciate the depths of the Quran, it is important to be familiar with this second type of science as well. This second type of science in Arabic, we call it Ilm al-Sarf or Ilm al-Tasreef. What does the word tasreef mean? In Arabic, the word tasreef, this is in our book, which by the way is called A Summary of Tasreef by Ali Abdul Rashid. He is an expert in Arabic grammar and in Arabic morphology. He studied seminary classes in New York under qualified scholars who had graduated from the seminary of Qom. He has authored this book. It's a very interesting and good book. On page 1 in the introduction, he tells us what the meaning of tasreef is. Tasreef basically means to spend, to change, and what we're changing is changing the patterns. There are word patterns, there are word forms that we are changing, and that's why we call it tasreef. Because in Arabic, when you change something, that is called tasreef. Allah mentions tasreef in the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one verse, when He talks about the signs in the universe, Allah says, do you not see the creation of the universe, the heavens and the earth, the sun and the moon? And then God says, وَتَصْرِيفِ الرِّيَاحِ. And do you see how we change the winds? If you examine the wind patterns on earth, it's a miracle. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala carries water and delivers rain to most of the world through wind. It's the direction of the wind that dictates where it's going to rain and where it's not going to rain. Tasreef al-riyah. Allah says, do you see how we change the pattern of the wind? That in itself is a sign that there is a creator who's given us this system. So that's the meaning of the word tasreef. And the word sarf pretty much gives us the same meaning. So this science is either called ilm al-sarf or ilm al-tasreef, same meaning. In English, we have two translations for ilm al-tasreef or ilm al-sarf. The most common one is Arabic morphology. See, why do we use the word morphology? In English, what does it mean for something to morph? To change into another form, right? When something morphs, it changes into another form. And literally that's the meaning of tasreef, because you're changing one word pattern into another word pattern. Another translation for sarf in English is Arabic conjugation, because you're conjugating various words. We have more elaborate words with a greater form, you conjugate them. You try to find out what the root word is, what are some other similar patterns. So it's either Arabic morphology or Arabic conjugation. These are the two common translations for ilm al-sarf or ilm al-tasreef. To give you an example of why ilm al-sarf is so important, you find that in the Arabic language, one word can take on so many different forms and patterns. Being familiar with these patterns allows you to understand what the word is, to appreciate the connotation of the word, the depth that the word is conveying. So you find on page 1, the author gives us an example of ilm. If you look at the word ilm in Arabic, what does ilm mean in Arabic? Knowledge. That's the root word, which means knowledge. There are so many forms that we can derive from this root word, from this masdar. Masdar means root word in Arabic. So if you look at on page 1, can someone read to me what are the forms that the author mentions towards the end of the page? The first one is what? Alima. See, alima is identical to ilm in the letters. Same exact letters. The only difference is the harakat. Alima. Alima is a different form than ilm. This is a noun, ism, masdar. This is a fi'l, it's a verb. It's a different form. Knowing that in itself is very important. This means knowledge, whereas this means he knew. He came to know. What's the next word that he says? Ya'lamu. What does ya'lamu mean? He knows. Alima is past. It's a past tense verb, fi'l madi. Whereas ya'lamu is fi'l mudara. What's fi'l mudara in English? Present tense verb. And then what does he share with us? Ulima. Is that the next word? I'lam. I'lam. What does i'lam mean? It's the imperative command, fi'l amr, which means know. You're commanding someone to know. In English we call this what? The imperative, the command form. Fi'l amr in English we call it imperative. This is i'lam. What else do we have? Ulima. Ulima. See, ulima is written exactly like alima and ilm when it comes to the three letters. But you just change the form by changing the harakat. You get a different meaning. What does ulima mean?
It came to know.
It was known. It's majhul. We're not told who the subject is. Who came to know? It was known. That's the English translation. And then do we have another word, or that's the last one?
يعلم.
Yu'lamu. The last one is yu'lamu. Yu'lamu. What does yu'lamu mean? It is known.
The last one is ليعلم.
That's the last one? Okay, we'll write the last one. So, yu'lam means it is known. And the last word is what? ليعلم.
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 Actually, there's no harakah on the meme there.
Let me look at the word. Yes, it's ليعلم. What does ليعلم mean? It should be known. It should be known. You see all these different patterns and forms from one word. Knowledge. You change a few harakat, he knows. He knew. He knows. You know. It's a command. It was known. It is known. It should be known. You see all these different forms? The more you become familiar with these forms, the more you master the Arabic language, and you read one verse in the Holy Quran and you understand the literary meaning and the depths of it. It's very important to know this. So, to give you an example, in Arabic morphology, that's what we deal with. We look at individual words. We don't really look at the full sentence. Where is the subject? Where is the preposition? Where is the object? That is something we did in which science? Arabic grammar. In Tasreef or Sarf, we look at the word itself and see what pattern is it following. And this pattern, what are the features of this pattern? What are the characteristics? What are the meanings assigned to each pattern? Because every pattern in Arabic has a meaning. And you will really appreciate this. Once you familiarize yourself with Arabic morphology, and you look at a hadith, and you look at the Quran, you really appreciate. You will know every harakah. Why is it there? And why did God choose this word pattern over another word pattern? So this is briefly a point that the author shares with us about morphology. He says, look, from one masdar, which is ilm, I have made 6 new words. 6 words are derived from the masdar. And then once you take other types of word patterns, if you want to make it dual, if you want to make it plural, if you want to add an extra layer of meaning, give the meaning that something, for example, is excessive. He says when you gather all these word patterns, we have 76 variations. You can make 76 words from ilm. That's the richness of the Arabic language. 76. When you multiply on the table, the graph, when you multiply the possibilities, you have 76 words that come from the word ilm. These 6 are just very brief ones that he shared with us. There are many. Because you have, for example, fi'l thulathi, fi'l ruba'i, even the weights that we have. Bab al-if'al, bab al-tafa'ul, we'll read all of these. All of this can come from the word ilm. Ya'lam, yata'allam. That's another form. There's a difference between ya'lam means to know, yata'allam means to learn. See one ta over there, which changed it to bab al-tafa'ul. What happened? We got a different meaning. When you gather all of these, we have 76 different words that come from the word ilm. That's just one word. And just compare that to the entire Arabic dictionary and vocabulary. So of course, we're not going to examine all of these 76 because some of them require higher level studies, but we're going to examine the most common forms. So this is ilm al-sarf wa ilm al-tasreef. Now the example that the author gave us on page 1 is how verbs come from one masdar, from one noun. Because what do you notice about all these words? Are they nouns or are they verbs? They're verbs, right? Other than ilm, of course, the words that come. Alima is a verb, ya'lamu is a verb, i'lam is a verb. It's a command. Ulima, yu'lamu, liyu'lam, all of these are verbs. That's one example. Sometimes you could take a noun and give it different forms. On page 2, the author gives us an example. Rajulun. What does rajulun mean? A man. Now you want to say 2 men, make it dual. What do? Add the alif and noon and it becomes rajulan. See, that's a different form, different meaning. It means 2. Make that plural. What do you say? You want to say men. Rijal. That's a different form. So you have rajul, 1 man. Rajulan, 2 men. Rijal, 3 or more men. And then we have another one that is rujail. It comes from this same noun. This in Arabic we call it musaghar. We'll study it. Basically, if you want to give a meaning that you want to reduce from the significance of something, or you want to reduce from the size of something, you give it the form of fu'ail. So you say rojail. Rojail means half man, not a full man. Right? We'll examine this form. See, this is now a noun. It's not a verb. It's one noun, which is a man. We're giving it so many different forms. So just as a verb can take on different forms, a noun can also take different forms. Therefore, in summary, what we learn in ilm al-tasreef is how to deal with a word itself. In Arabic grammar, we learn how to deal with the sentence. We examine the parts of the sentence, and every sentence has three parts: fi'l, ism, harf, a verb, a noun, and a preposition that links. So on page 3, the author talks about the divisions of the kalima, of the word. We have 3 types of words. The first type is nouns. Any noun, we call it ism in Arabic. Proper noun, any type of noun. Even, for example, adjectives. In Arabic, we consider them to be nouns. They are isms. That's one type of words. The second type is any word that tells you about an event that occurred and the timing of that event. Did it happen in the past, in the present, in the future it's going to happen? We call these verbs. A verb is any word that indicates an occurrence, an incident, an event that happened. And then we have what is called a harf. A harf basically is a particle, such as the prepositions in, of, on. That's the meaning of a particle. A particle does not have an independent meaning. Nouns have an independent meaning. When I say desk, that's an independent meaning. You can picture a desk in your mind, right? Independently of any other thing. I can picture a desk in my mind. However, if I say in, can you picture it independent of something else? On its own? The prepositions in, on, of, can you picture them? What are you going to picture? You need something with the particle preposition to be able to picture it. Like there is water in the bottle. Then you could picture the meaning in. But on its own, independent of a noun, you can't picture it. On. Okay, on what? Right? That's what differentiates a particle from a noun. A noun is a word that you can independently, باستقلال, you can picture it and deal with it and refer to it. Whereas a particle, you cannot do that. It requires nouns for it to have any meaning. Otherwise, it doesn't have any full meaning. Yes, we know what the meaning of on, of, in is, but on their own, they're not conveying anything meaningful. I could say 10 times in. Okay, then what? In what? But I could say desk, table, book, and mental images will come to your mind because they have their own independent meaning. So every word in Arabic must fall in one of these categories. Either it's a noun, or it's a verb, if it's conveying an action that happened, or it's a particle, which is harf. So in Arabic tasreef, in morphology, we study these words and their different forms. Now it's very important to know that in ilm al-sarf, we have 2 types of words. We have a word that is jamid and a word that is mushtaq. The jamid word is called the substantive word. And the mushtaq word is called the derivative word. What is the difference between them? The jamid, fixed, let's call it fixed to make it easier. Technically they call it the substantive word, but I'm going to call it the fixed word just to make it easier. The fixed word is any word that was not taken from another word. It's not like you have another source, another root word, and you're morphing it into different words. No. Like what? An example, rajul, which means man. Did we take rajul from another word? No, we didn't. It in itself is a word. It's not like we morphed it from another word. No. We don't have a root word and then from that root word we derive the word rajul. The word rajul is a word that stands on itself. So we call it a fixed substantive word. In Arabic, that's a jamid. However, with these examples that you saw, alima, ya'lamu, i'lam, all of these are what type of words? Mushtaq. Mushtaq means they are derivative words. That means we derive them from a root word, which is ilm over here. So if you look at the word ya'lam, you're like, wait a minute, ya'lam is not like rajul. There is a root word that it was taken from. That root word is ilm. And that helps you figure out the meaning of it. So in Arabic we have two types of words. Words that are fixed, jamid, substantive. They're not taken from any other word. And we have words that are derivative. They are taken from other words and they have taken a new pattern. Most of the words we have in Arabic, you can guess are which type? Are mushtaqat. Most of the words that we deal with are mushtaqat. Yes, there are a lot of words that are jamid as well, but they're the minority of words. Generally, the words that we deal with are mushtaqat. So the word alim, adil, ma'kul. Those of you who know Arabic, what does ma'kul mean? Eaten. Something which is edible, eaten. Okay, ma'kul, is that a mushtaq word or a jamid word? How do you know it's mushtaq? It's taken from akl. Exactly. It's taken from the root word akl. Akl means food or something that is eaten. So ma'kul means that which is eaten. We'll examine that form, which is the form maf'ul. So this is a mushtaq word. The author gives us some example of jamid words, such as the word fil. What does fil mean? Elephant. Is that a jamid word or a mushtaq word? Jamid. Why? Because we didn't take it from any other word, right? Fil, it's a word on itself. It's fixed. It wasn't derived from another word before it. So that just basically helps you understand and identify whether a word is jamid or mushtaq. The words that are mushtaqat have a certain pattern to them. We'll recognize those patterns. And once you recognize that pattern itself, you know, okay, I know this is a derivative word. So this is one distinction to make between these words. Another very important point to know about Arabic morphology is that we have original letters, huruf asliya, and we have additional letters, which are huruf za'idah. Let's work with this sentence that we have over here. Ilm. How many letters is it? 3. All these 3 letters are original letters. They are huruf asliya. But if you look at the word ya'lam, how many letters is it? It's 4. We added which letter? The ya. Is the ya harf asli? Is the ya an original letter? No. It's not. It's an added letter that we added to the original root word to give it a different form. Knowing this is very helpful. It's very important. Once you know the form and pattern of ilm, and then you look at this form and pattern, you're like, okay, the ya over here is an extra letter. The real letters are the ayn, the lam, and the mim. This helps you understand the meaning of the word. And the root word. What is the root word? This really helps you. Let's take a look at this example. I'lam. Which letter is the additional one? The hamza, right? This alif over here. Yu'lamu. Liyu'lam. How many letters is liyu'lam? That last word. 5. These two, the lam and the ya, are huruf za'idah. They are additional letters. And the original letters are the ayn, the lam, and the mim. Knowing this is very important. We'll study this throughout this course, inshallah. We'll identify and distinguish between the original letters and the added letters. So that's another thing that we study in Arabic morphology. Which ones are the original letters? Which one are the added letters? That helps us in figuring out what kind of meaning is being conveyed over here. Now when it comes to Arabic words, not particles, nouns, words, what is the minimum number of letters in Arabic that form a word? 3. Every Arabic word, noun, not preposition like fi, no. We're not talking about the particles and the huruf. We're talking about al-asma. In Arabic, every noun must be at least 3 words or more. 3 letters or more. It must be at least 3 ahruf, 3 letters or more. So the most common type of word we have in Arabic is called al-ismur thulathi. Thulathi in Arabic is basically the 3-lettered word. Thulathi means 3-lettered. Like ilm. Ilm is how many lettered? 3. In Arabic we have 3 types of words. You have al-thulathi, which is the 3-lettered, like ilm. And then you have the ruba'i, which is the 4-lettered word. Can you give me an example, or you don't know an example? What's that? In Arabic, so we have the 3-lettered word, the most common. And then we also have the 4-letter word, which is called al-ruba'i. Can you give me an example? You probably, if you don't know Arabic, you won't. Okay, you said yaf'al, which is like ya'lam. Remember, what did we observe about the ya? It's an additional letter, so it's not part of the original word. So this word, we don't really call it ruba'i, even though it has 4 letters. But why do we not call it a 4-lettered word? Because the original letters are 3. So we call this thulathi mazid, as we'll examine later. We don't call this ruba'i. Ruba'i means every letter must be an original letter.
So the rubayat of Umar Khayyam?
No. That rubaiyat, that is a type of poetry.
That's not...
No, we're not talking about this. The rubaiyat or the khumasiyat that you hear in poetry, that's a type of poetry pattern. That's different than this. Here we're talking about the word itself being ruba'i. So what is one example of a ruba'i word? Dahraja. The author tells us. Let's write that. You don't need to know this for now. This is just an intro to know the different variations of these words. Dahraja. How many letters do you observe here? 4. The dal, the ha, the ra, and the jim. But see, all of these letters are original. We're not adding anything like ya'lamu. If you want to make dahraja fi'l mudari', you would say yudahriju. See, you would add a ya. What does dahraja mean? To toss something. When you toss something in a certain way, we call this dahraja. Or when something falls and it trips and you toss it, it's called dahraja. The author does give us, some examples. Let me see. This is his translation. He says to roll something. Toss something, roll something is dahraja. Dahraja, yudahriju. And then we have the word that is khumasi. So we have the thulathi, which is how many letters? 3. We have the ruba'i, how many letters? 4. We have the khumasi, how many letters? 5. Like what? Safarjal. You know what safarjal is? What is it in English? It's a fruit. What is it? Quince. It has that, it's bigger than an apple. Looks like an apple, but bigger. And it's highly, highly recommended to eat. In fact, the hadith states one of the common practices of prophets is to eat safarjal. And it's significantly mustahab for a pregnant woman to eat safarjal during her pregnancy. It has a lot of benefits. So the word safarjal, it has 5 letters. You have the sin. This marker stopped working. Let's write it with the red one. So the sin, the fa, the ra, the jeen, and the lam. Safarjal. All of these are original words, letters. By the way, these words are rare. We just have, a few words in the Arabic language that are like that. Most words are like ilm, thulathi. So this is another distinction to make between these words. Do you find this too complex so far, or we're on the same page? Okay, if it's too complex, you have any questions, let me know. And remember, this is an overview. We'll examine this, in greater detail, inshallah.
What about Portugal? That would be 6, right?
Burtuqal. If we consider that,
Can that be broken down?
yeah, that's not an original Arabic word. It wasn't in the dictionary. But if it was, then yes, we could say that. That's right. It's not, but if it were, that's a good example, yeah. Another distinction to make between the words that we have is as-sahih wal-mu'tal. We have the sound word, and then we have the word that ends with a vowel or has a vowel somewhere in it. We call this mu'tal. Mu'tal literally means weak. Something that is ill, something that is weak. But in the science of morphology or Arabic grammar, mu'tal basically means it has harf illa. And what does harf illa mean in Arabic? Vowel. So any word that has a vowel, and in the Arabic language, what are the 3 vowels that we have? Alif, waw, ya. In English, how many do we have? 5. What are they? A, E, I, O, U. In Arabic, the letters, the fathat, we have many. But the letters, we have 3 only. The alif, the waw, and the ya. These are your 3 vowels in the Arabic language. Any word that has a vowel in the beginning, in the middle, and the end is called mu'tal. Why do we give it a different classification? Because the rules differ. I'll give you an example. For instance, when you say ilm, which is the root word, if I want to say he knew and make it past tense, ilm becomes what? Alima. That's the form. Let's look at the word qawl. What does the word qawl mean in Arabic? Speech, saying. What are the 3 letters of this word qawl? Qaf, waw, lam. Make it past tense for me. He said. Qala. Why did you switch the letter? The noun, the root word is qawl. It has a waw in the middle. That's the harf illa. That's the vowel. But when you make it a past tense, it switches to an alif. Qala. See, that's tricky, right? That's why we call it mu'tal. It's a weak word, meaning it's an awkward word. Whenever you deal with vowels, it gets tricky sometimes. Or sometimes when it becomes majzoom, if you remember from Arabic grammar what majzoom means, when it's in the jussive case, something is majzoom like fi'al amr, sometimes you drop just letters here and there. For example, we have wiqaya in Arabic. What does wiqaya mean? Or wiqaya means protection. Right? Protect is the verb. Wiqaya, the noun, is protection. Or we have wafa, loyalty, trustworthiness, keeping your promise. All that's called wafa. Okay, if you want to say he protected, you would say waqa. Yaqi wiqayatan. Now if you want to make it majzoom, you want to tell someone, protect your family. What do you say in the Arabic language?
Does it work?
ق. You see, just one letter, ق. And that waw got dropped, and another letter got dropped. It's tricky, yes, because when you're dealing with vowels, you drop them. If you want to say, keep your promise from wafa, what would you say? Fi. Fi with the kasra, so it becomes kind of like fa. But the Arabs, that's how they pronounce it. Fi binadrik. Observe your vow, observe your nadr. See, it's just one letter, V. Fi. That's why the Quran in that verse which talks about protecting our families, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, qu anfusakum. That waw is waw al-jam', right? The waw for the plural. But the word itself is just qaf. Qu anfusakum. See, that's why we have to give it a different classification. It's not like ilm where it's easy to morph into different derivatives. When it comes to a word that has a vowel, it gets tricky. And there's many, many types. So on page 10, you find that the author gives us an elaborate classification. If the harf al-illa comes in the beginning, we call it mithal. If it comes in the middle, we call it ajwaf. If it comes at the end, we call it naqis. We'll examine those later. Because it makes a difference where the vowel is. It does make a difference. Don't find this too complex now. With practice, you will slowly master this, inshallah. This is just to give you an overview so we know what we're dealing with when it comes to these words. Another thing that the author discusses on page 11, whenever a word has a hamza, what's the hamza? Not just the alif. It's a strong alif, like a. It has that a sounding, right? Whenever a word has the hamza, what do we call that word? Mahmuz. We call that word a mahmuz word. For example, we have amara, sa'ala, ma'kul. All of these are mahmuz words. They have also certain laws that govern them. So this is also important to know. Now the author, in the first preface to part 1, simply examines the types of verbs that we have. In Arabic grammar, we did dedicate time to examine these verbs. So very briefly, I will summarize that. In Arabic, basically, we have 3 types of verbs. We have al-fi'l al-madi, which is what? The past tense verb. We have al-mudari', present tense verb. And we have fi'l al-amr. What do we call that in English? The imperative. We studied that in Arabic grammar. They do come, in different forms. Here's what's important to know about the verb. Every verb is taken from the masdar. Every verb in Arabic is taken from a root word. So look at alima. What is it taken from? Ilm. Daraba. What is it taken from? Darb. Akala. What is it taken from? Akl. Shariba. What is it taken from? Shurb. We don't have a verb in the Arabic language that is not taken from a noun, from a root word that acts as the derivative for it. So every verb in Arabic is taken from a noun. If you know the meaning of the noun, and you know the form of the verb, then you know what the meaning of the verb is. So if you know what dharb means, hitting, and you say, okay, dharaba is fa'ala, fa'ala is a past tense verb, okay, he hit. That's how you can identify that. So the basis of all words in Arabic is the noun, masdar, the root word. Then comes fi'l al-madi. What do you notice about fi'l al-madi and the masdar?
Just the harf is changing.
The letters, what do you notice about the letters? They're identical. Always in Arabic, the fi'l al-madi looks exactly like the root word. The only difference is what? The harakat. ضرب ضرب, أكل أكل, شرب شرب. Same exact letters. Always keep that in mind, that the past tense verb, the letters are exactly the same letters of the masdar. That's the general law in Arabic morphology. Once you take the verb فعل الماضي past tense, then we can make other types of verbs, like فعل المضارع. If you add a ya in the beginning, it becomes يعلم for the third person. If you want to say I know, you would say أعلم. If you want to say we know, نعلم. If you're talking in the second person, تعلم, you know. So here is the sequence of words in Arabic language. Always, which word comes first? The root of all words, what is it? The source of all words. It's the masdar, which is the noun and the root word. After the root word, which is the closest verb that comes to the root word? Past tense, ماضي. And then you have the mudara, and then you have the amr. That's the progression of the word. So this is very important to know. It's very beneficial to know. And pretty much this is what the author discusses on page 18. And you see he gives you in the middle of the page, right before active voice and passive voice, masdar, then past tense verb, then present tense verb, then you have the imperative, which is the command verb. Another thing the author discusses on page 17, which is also important, is that every verb in the Arabic language needs a what? A subject. Every fi'l has a fa'il. You cannot have a verb without a fa'il. There's an exception of having a verb without having a fa'il. But we call it na'ib fa'il. It's a pro-subject, or as the author calls it, a proxy subject. We studied this in Arabic grammar. It's the fi'l that is majhul. Like, which one? Ulima. It was known. Who's the subject of this verb? Known. Who's the subject? ضرب زيد. Zayd was hit. He was struck. Who's the fa'il? We're not told. It's not known. So in these examples, ضرب زيد. ضرب is your past tense verb. It's called the majhul verb. It's like a passive majhul verb. Zaydun is the one who got hit. Zayd is not really your subject because he got hit. He didn't do the hitting. We call him na'ib fa'il. He acts as if he's the subject. Grammatically, we treat him like the subject. We'll examine that later. But essentially, every verb needs a subject. So it's always important to know what is the subject of this verb. Is it a noun? Is it a pronoun? Is it a hidden pronoun? It's important to know to understand a sentence properly. Finally, on page 19, the author basically states that every verb comes in three forms, which we have in English as well. You have the first person. What does the first person mean?
Single.
Single? How would you... See, we have the third person, the second person, and the first person. So in English we call al-mutakallim, what do we call him in English? First person. In Arabic grammar, that's how we translate it. So all words come in three forms. Al-mutakallim is if you're speaking, like we, I. I know would be a'lamu. We know would be na'lamu. This is in the first person, which is the mutakallim. And then you have the second person. What do we call the second person in Arabic? Mukhatab. The person whom you're addressing. That is ta'lam, you know. And then we have the third person, which is the most common verb. It's the third person. He knows, she knows, he played, she played, right? All of this is third person. What do we call third person in Arabic? Ghaib. Why? Because what's the meaning of ghaib? Absent. That's the literal meaning of ghaib, absent. Because the third person is absent from the conversation, right? We're referring to the third person, so we call that ghaib. So these are just briefly the classifications that we have when it comes to the verbs. But just keep this in mind, that always fi'l al-madi looks identical to the masdar. The only difference is the harakat. Any questions so far? Do you have any concerns about this class? Is this what you expected or no? It's very interesting, inshallah, as we progress and we look at the different types of word patterns. قتل, قاتل, يقتل, قتال, all of these come from the word which is kill, قتل, but they have different meanings. عالم, يتعلم, allama, for example, all of these are different word patterns. It's very interesting to know the differences between them. Once you study this and you can absorb them, you will understand the Quran at a different level. When you examine the words of the Quran, you will appreciate them. Even if you're not an Arabic speaker, but if you just, spend some time reviewing this, absorbing this, you will appreciate the Holy Quran. Once you know Arabic grammar and Arabic morphology, you can better understand Arabic sentences and Quran than many native Arabic speakers who are not well versed in these sciences. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.